Is this
Hello,
thing on?
everybody. Welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr, and also because it is Tuesday, and why not? Every day is a good reason to have Kevin Noon with us. Tom, first off, how's it going?
Tony, the headline for this says college football playoff rankings live, rivalry week reaction, the rural juror. You have a feeling, though, this is going to be a lot more rivalry week reaction than it is college football playoff rankings. Go ahead and if you want to talk to us about Ohio State, Michigan, that's totally fine, because great news. This, in a surprise to absolutely no one, college basketball is screwing literally everything up. The whatever stupid Maui invitational game is going like probably 15 to 20 minutes long. So it'll be a while before we have any rankings to react to anyway.
Which is fine. We've got plenty to talk about, including talking to Kevin. Kevin, how's it going?
It's going well. Just sitting here flipping between the Maui game that I don't care about and the Ohio State basketball game against Mount St. Mary's, which is on BTN, but don't flip over there. We will give you updates. Ohio State, I'm sure, is up at this point. Yeah, rivalry week is here, and excited for this one. I mean, they can't do it this time. I don't know what we're doing here.
And I will just warn people, I've had some electricity issues. I've had some outages today. So if I freeze or disappear, that's what that is. And Tom and Kevin, I'm sure, will probably collapse under the pressure and pull the plug because they can't handle doing this by themselves without me. And why would they? Why would you want them to, second of all? But certainly welcome everybody in. And whatever you guys want to talk about, we will talk about. Michigan week is upon us. If you've not yet seen it, youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle, where you are now, we've put out a bunch of content in terms of previewing this game from all different angles. Tom's been throwing up some X's and O's stuff that there will be more of coming as well. So thumbs up to all of that. We would appreciate that. Send them to your friends and family. I know you're going to be spending time with them. Send them the links as well. And then you can talk about, then you'll have something to talk about other than politics at Thanksgiving. So have everybody study up on the Ohio State Michigan game.
And if people are talking politics at Thanksgiving, these podcasts are also available on your podcast platform of choice. Just search Buckeye Weekly and Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning and subtly throw an earbud or two in during dinner, and you can enjoy us breaking down Ohio State, Michigan from every possible angle instead of relitigating the government shutdown or whatever else anyone's angry about this week.
12 minutes and 7 seconds to go, according to my television. This is going to be, we're going to be here forever, but we're here for you guys. So go ahead, and I'm not lamenting this at all. We talked with Ryan Day, who seemed to be in pretty good spirits. We talked about that afterwards as well. And that's something else that people on the Buckeye Huddle message board have been saying, like, boy, Ryan Day sure seems like he's in a decent mood. He's in a pretty good mood. And, you know, he's looking forward to this Saturday and all that comes with it. And Kevin, based on the last 12 months, shouldn't he be like, this is what, sure, you won a national championship and there's been little pressure, but there's still this Wolverine monkey on his back that this is now another opportunity for him to remove it.
Yeah, there'd be people who would say, oh, he's playing with house money at this point, but it's been since 2019 since Ohio State has beaten Michigan. I mean, 2020, Michigan just tapped out and said, we're not going to play. We know we're going to get destroyed. Start licking doorknobs. Let's all get COVID and let's, get on with our lives. But since then, it has been futility on Ohio State's part, even though Ohio State has had the better team pretty much consistently through there and, whatever's happened. But when you have a national championship in your pocket, when you have the type of roster you do, I mean, I'm sure at some point we will mention the names Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate at some point. But, I think there's reason to feel good. And, I think that maybe at some point the epiphany happens of, if you're a cheetah, you don't need to be a hippopotamus and go out there and play a cheetah type of game. Granted, the other team are the cheetahs. So maybe I should have picked a different animal. But you go from there, and a super chat coming in. So I'll end my thoughts here quickly because we do love super chats, and we will get you to the top of the queue with those. But yeah, Ryan seems relaxed. Everybody wants to get out there and go have a good time. But as you know, what is a good time, guys?
Kicking ass.
There you go.
That is what I was told earlier today in a surprising. I was looking down at the screen and he said that, and the old gif of Tony Alford like whipping his head around. That was me going, what? That is not. We do not. That's not. That is about as gently as you can brush past working blue, but that's about the closest Ryan Day has gotten in as many years as we've been covering him. Super chat from our buddy Fort Wayne Buckeye. 1 penny for every show Tom and Tony have done already this week. Thanks for the content this week, fellas. $19.99. I don't think we've gotten quite to 2,000 podcasts, but hey, it's only Tuesday evening. We might still get there. I think we've probably said this on a show before, but Tony put a spreadsheet together sometime over the weekend, sort of like mapping out, okay, we can't have like 3 shows uploaded within 12 minutes on YouTube. So mapping it out. And it was just sort of about every 3 hours during remotely awake hours during the day, morning, afternoon, evening, and respectable hours of the night. And there was something going up pretty much all of those times.
We had 4 Buckeye Weeklies yesterday, and of course, maybe a couple of Buckeyes tomorrow morning. Chuck was live. There was all kinds of stuff going on Monday. All kinds of stuff going on now, as you are aware, and then we'll have some more Buckeye Weeklies and those sorts of things in Buckeyes tomorrow morning for you tomorrow, as I'm looking at the spreadsheet right now, and I've got some editing to do tonight so that you've got some shows and podcasts in your eyes and ears tomorrow morning. So yes, hit the bell to be notified. Subscribe to the channel if you've not yet done so. Plenty of talk still coming.
I want to real quickly, while we're talking about stuff, I will put in a recommendation for the Ross Fulton analysis show that he did on the Ohio State offense and the Michigan defense. I've done a lot of shows with Ross over the years, and I think that might be the best one that I think he's done. He just does a great job of explaining things and explaining complex concepts in a way that's understandable. And you can find that in the Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning podcast feed. I may throw that in the Buckeye Weekly podcast feed as a bonus show at some point, just because it's just great stuff. He has another great one against with the Ohio State defense and the Michigan offense. I have to get that edited at some point, possibly after we're done later tonight. I have to finish editing that one and get that one up. That'll be up probably sometime on Wednesday for you. And we generally will have those up early for our Buckeye Huddle members. So if you are a Buckeye Huddle member, you can probably look for that either Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning.
Question here from Jordan Kapler. Serious question. Which film of the esteemed Fast and Furious franchise is Ryan Day's favorite? I'm guessing Tokyo Drift. Boy, that's a shot from Jordan Kapler. And the reason this question is being asked is because today Ryan Day talked about, he said one of his favorite quotes in terms of playing this week in any game, you have to play with emotion. You can't let emotion play with you. And then he tagged that with you can't have nitrous be your main fuel source, which, as we know, that's what life is, living life 1/4 mile at a time, like the Fast and Furious folks. I don't think Tokyo Drift. I think he's probably the same as maybe mine, which is probably like Fast 5, because then it's really truly like it becomes a heist genre movie. It's fun action, a lot of like Mustangs, I think, involved. So probably thinking like me, although the first one, Tom, I had the first one on VHS, watched it a lot, really liked it. It's the one that, that's the one that grabs you and then never lets you go until about Fast and Furious 8. And then it kind of lets you go. Then it's like, you know what, go on, live your life. And I have.
Yeah, I think the original is probably my favorite, just because the original was on cable a lot before I had kids, and so therefore when I had free time, and would like sit down and watch things on TV sometimes. So that's definitely the one I have seen the most. Is Ryan Day like driving a car out of an airplane? Do you think Ryan Day is we know he likes to do things through the air. Do you think that fits within his whole, within his particular brand? I feel like that might be, fast, yes. they tend to spend a lot of time on the ground. I think, was that 6 where they were like dropping the cars out of the airplanes? I think 6 or 7.
So,
And then, of
with
course,
their
there's
pace,
space, which might be a whole different.
so basically, because of their pace of play, you're saying slow and furious. I also, Tom, don't like the fact that you stopped liking the franchise once you had a family, because Tom, this entire franchise is about family. So
You
it
only
should
have
only
one. You only have
it should
one.
only make you closer to the franchise and to the Diesels and their ilk. But I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. 1/4 of a mile at a time, half mile at a time, 6 miles at a time. Live your life.
All right, super chat from Mike Farino. If you had to pick an upset this week in the following games, which would you pick as the most likely? Texas, Texas A&M, Oregon, Washington, the Iron Bowl, the Egg Bowl, Georgia Tech, Georgia, and I have to include those pesky spoiler makers taking on Indiana in the Old Oaken Bucket game. Kevin, what's your pick?
Iron Bowl. And here's why, because when the game is played at Auburn, it's always close. I mean, just here in recent history, it's always close. You know, I don't know if I view Texas A&M. I mean, obviously Texas A&M has, you know, their, you know, top 5 team. I think that you sit there and you look at Texas, and it's a team that has all sorts of potential and hasn't really lived up to it. I don't know if I'm going to put that as – I wouldn't be shocked if Texas won that game. Oregon, Washington, you know, Washington's been okay at points. DeMond Williams has his moments. You know, the Egg Bowl, you know, that would be an upset, but Mississippi State, I'm just not feeling them. And then Georgia Tech, you know, who knows? But I think Auburn having, you know, I think that is the one that I think would be most likely, in my opinion.
Auburn's a 6-point underdog. There's bound to be some craziness in there. There's no reason Auburn should win that, which is a pretty decent reason for Auburn. That's as good a reason as any for Auburn to win that. I think Texas is a 2-point underdog at home. That's what I'm going to go with. Just because I'm not a believer in Texas A&M, that does not mean I'm a believer in Texas. But this is a game that Texas would love to have. It's a rivalry game. And this will be an opportunity to see just how good Texas A&M can be for 4 quarters, and because they might have to be. And maybe this is where Arch Manning can get back into the Heisman race.
The 2026 Heisman race, maybe? I don't know. Maybe he launches his 2026 Heisman campaign this week. That's possible. I do like Texas in that game. I am really not a big believer in Texas A&M. That defense is like intermittent, and I think that's going to get them got at some point, and that could very well happen this week. I'm not a huge believer in Texas, but I do think that's probably going to catch up with them at some point. I think Georgia Tech is a little sneaky on that list. It feels like everyone has decided that Georgia is absolutely, the second best team in the nation. And I think there's absolutely an argument for that. But that Georgia Tech team, you saw what they did last year against them. And the defense is not great, but I think they might be able to score against that Georgia team. And I'm not saying that that's the one I think is most likely, but I think that's kind of a sneaky option there.
And they'll be playing at home in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. A home crowd.
Georgia could technically play there this week and then next week, and then in the semifinals in a month and a half or so, three games in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the span of about 7 weeks. I'm sure their fans will be thrilled at that.
Well, when you drive like Georgia players, you can get from Athens to Atlanta in no time.
It is true. I also am interested to see what Pittsburgh does against Miami, and knocks Miami completely out of the playoff picture. Not that the committee hasn't already done that for them.
My only concern there is Pitt has, I think, some injuries on their offensive line, and that's you do not want to have a shaky offensive line going up against that Miami defensive line. Like believe me, no one on this podcast is saying that Miami could not blow this game or that Carson Beck could not throw 4 terrible interceptions and single-handedly lose the game. Like, we are well within the bounds of reality with that. But I do think that there are reasons that might not be a phenomenal game. But you've got Miami coming up to Pittsburgh in late November. I don't know what the forecast is in Pittsburgh, but
35 degrees.
Miami players sitting around the, burning, oil drums full of wood and stuff, like old-timey hobos on the sideline. You can never put anything past Miami in temperatures below 50 degrees. So that's
35 degrees at kickoff, they're saying. So,
well, there you go. That's there's lots of Pittsburgh might not have an offensive line. Miami might not be able to play with their parkas on the field. So yeah, that's a possibility. Super chat from Clay Plays 23. Love the work you guys do. Been able to see the Michigan Mondays, but not watch one of their games. Best one to get an idea of Michigan as a team. Boy. So if you want to watch Michigan look terrible, there's the Oklahoma game and the USC game. Like the USC game, boy,
it looks really bad.
You want to watch a defensive coordinator get outclassed, watch the USC game. But here's the thing. They've played much better since then. And it feels like Wink Martindale has learned his lesson from that game and is not doing the Don Brown impression anymore. So I don't know, Tony, which recent game? It feels like the Northwestern game, they played terribly. The Purdue game, they really didn't play very well. The Maryland game, they played. Is it the Maryland game where they didn't play well, but they did enough stuff that they won comfortably? Is that the most representative game?
It also gives you a look at Michigan's defense and the holes that are there, and the holes that are there to be taken advantage of. As Kevin said, the Northwestern game, if you just go watch the fourth quarter of that one, you'll get a pretty good idea of the fact that you saw a quarterback turn the ball over 3 times, but then still make a drive to win the game, which is a little bit of what they are, where you never know what you're going to get from your quarterback, but you now know that he can go down and win a game. So I also think if you just want to watch the USC game and see that Michigan can be run on, there's a confidence booster as well.
Yeah, I would caution you not to watch the fourth quarter of the Northwestern game, because otherwise you will like involuntarily leave your home and just walk around offering strangers Ohio State or Michigan plus 38 in this weekend's game, and that's probably not a good idea. So I would advise against watching the end of that one. Watch one of where they win a little more comfortably, because there have been some wild swings for that team over the course of this year, and you want to pick one of the kind of like a middle ground kind of game, not one of the real bad ones. Super chat from Mike Farino. My single favorite storyline of the year. By the way, Duke can still win the ACC if they get a win and Pitt loses to Miami, and SMU Pitt loses and an SMU loss, or they win and a Pitt loss and a UVA loss and a North Carolina win, or Duke wins and Pitt loses and Virginia loses and North Carolina State wins if Duke finishes higher than Miami in the Sports Source analytics ranking. I mean, Tony, it was back in the year of our Lord 2002 when at the Ozone I started doing a column called The Tip Sheet, where Ohio State needed needed potentially some help to make the BCS title game. And so I started writing a column with who should you be rooting for every week. This would be its own column all by itself just to get Duke there. But listen, if you can get, are they a 5-loss team now? I believe they are. If you can get a 5-loss Duke team in the ACC championship game, that basically fulfills the old ACC Coastal prophecy, where every year we thought maybe everyone in the ACC Coastal can finish 4-4, and it never quite happened. This would be about as close as you could get.
Yeah, 6-5 on the season, having won 2 of their last 5, staying alive, woo, staying alive. No, it would want nothing to do with them anywhere near the playoffs or the postseason. Let's get some new blood in there. I'm tired of seeing Duke win all the time.
Do you think any of the Duke players will be slapping the field at during the game this weekend? And if they do, will the opposing team immediately score a touchdown? I say yes. And once again, if Duke somehow wins the ACC, you are getting 2 Group of 5 teams in. Like, you will get James Madison and the American champion, and if that does happen, that is pretty much a guarantee.
And there's already enough kind of bad teams that are angling for the playoffs. I don't know that you need more than 1 Group of 5 team in there.
We just talked.
I know
about
you don't.
Yes, we got it. Yeah.
I'm just going through questions right now. I'm sorry.
I started reading this and I'm like, where are we going here? After watching you guys for years, I don't think I've ever left a negative comment. I'm like, until now, YouTube personal best for me, as it's show easy to only ever leave comments when triggered rather than when happy. So yeah, we're happy to.
I started that one.
Yeah, happy to have you here. Happy you enjoy it, and nice to get to spend some time with you as we wait for the last 5 minutes and 30 seconds of this never-ending basketball game to end.
This is a good one from Dave K24. What is your second favorite rivalry in college football? Because my second favorite rivalry used to be Michigan Notre Dame. And then when Mark D'Antonio was around, it was Michigan State. I don't know if I have a second favorite rivalry right now. I think maybe they're all equal. You guys can throw some names out there when I'm done here, and then maybe I'll be like, yeah, that's the one. I always liked Clemson, Florida State as well, when both of those 2 teams were good for like 8 days. There's like 8 particular days where they were both good. Kevin, what about you? What's your second favorite rivalry?
Army-Navy. I love Army-Navy. I know it's about more than just the football. I mean, cliche this and cliche that, but I mean, it's true. And, is it going to be like the highest level football in terms of the most current types of offenses and defenses out there? No. I mean, you sit there and, for a while, I mean, if you had 6 forward passes in the game between the 2 teams, something was, just wrong. But I mean, I love the rivalry. It's one of the few games that I've not been able to get out and see. It is on my bucket list. I think that's it. I mean, I could probably name 2 or 3 others that are there, but I want to leave some games on the board for you guys to pick from. But Army-Navy for me. Yeah,
Army-Navy is mine as well. I actually have a family tie there. My younger brother went to the Naval Academy, so I've been to 3 Army-Navy games in 3 different stadiums. I saw it in the Vet in 1999. The Old Giant Stadium in 2002, which was Paul Johnson's first year, where they had won 1 game all year and then won, I think, 52-6. And it was like, holy crap, this is new and different. And then saw them play in the Link at some point in 2007, 2008, something like that. But yeah, that is one that I always recommend to people. There's a few sort of standard recommendations that I have that, if you ever have an opportunity to go to the Rose Bowl game, not a UCLA home game there, the Rose Bowl game on January 1st, you need to do it. You should do it. Do not wait. Go do that. Like, you need to do that. Army-Navy is another one where it's not prohibitively expensive. And Philadelphia is a city with lots of hotels, and it's not hard to get to. And the game itself, the tickets are not outrageous. Like, it's a sellout every year, and it's a great atmosphere. But it's the most respectful, pleasant game experience. You've got people tailgating, and people from both teams are tailgating together, and there's not any hostility. And there's all sorts of pageantry and ceremonies going on 2-3 hours before the game. Like, it's worth going into the stadium early. Just a great game, and then stay for the alma maters at the end. They show it on TV every year, but it is different in person. I've been on the field for a couple of those, and man, that team that is singing first, there are a lot of very, very tough football players who are about to go do some dangerous stuff, absolutely in tears. And then both teams, the winning team sprints over across the field to its section to do its alma mater. It is a scene unlike anything you see anywhere else in college football. It is absolutely awesome. As Kevin said, it should be on your college football bucket list. Do that at some point. It is phenomenal.
Let me just chime in, Tom. You mentioned how respectful it is. You ever heard of mutually assured destruction? Yeah, of course it's going to be respectful. Like, and so I'm not, great job with that. It's like, come on. We all know what we're doing here. Come on.
Super chat from Mike Farino. By the way, I went through the games the other day. OSU starters on defense have given up just an average of 4.4 points against per game, 5 if you include the second Penn State touchdown. The only team to hit double digits was Illinois with 10. And that game was 20-3. That game was actually 20-0 at one point. And then I think they got it to, was it 27-3? And then they got it to 27-10, something like that. Yeah, I was actually going to go back and do that and figure out, because they've given up 2 first half touchdowns all season long. And yeah, they have not played phenomenal opponents. Really, really, truly, they have not played. Texas was a decent offense. Washington's a pretty good offense that doesn't really scale well against better opponents. Illinois got a decent offense, but they really have not played a phenomenal offense. And Michigan's offense is not a phenomenal offense by any means. But yeah, this defense, it feels like we have to just keep coming up with stats to sort of explain, no. They had the best defense in the country last year, and they're substantially better this year, even though they lost 8 starters and changed coordinators. This is one of the craziest and most unexpected seasons that I can remember out of one side of the ball for Ohio State.
Well, and they haven't given up a passing touchdown in the first half this year. They've given up 3 in the fourth quarter. The only one of those that was meaningful was against Texas to make it a 14-7 game. They've given up 2 rushing touchdowns in the first half. And there's not much scoring going on, as you know. But I've also been wanting to go back and look at those box scores. 4.4 points per game. That's pretty good. I mean, I've seen better, but that's pretty good. Right now, Ohio State in the first half of games, 4 interceptions and no touchdown passes allowed.
Can I just tell you that this is a 4-point basketball game with 2:41, and overtime is just hanging over like the sword of Damocles hanging over our heads right now.
I'll read about the results tomorrow morning if that's the case.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky.
You got an hour from me. That's it. And I'm not an hour from now. I mean an hour total. I've got places to be, people to see. Not really. But speaking of people, SJ 20860 watching, 42 thumbs up. Let's reach 100. So yeah, everybody, why don't you sit there? I mean, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. That certainly helps us with the algorithm and all that good stuff. We love our super chats, but you can certainly help us with the thumbs up and by subscribing to the channel, as we are. Well, where are we at right now? 23,000 subscribers, something like that. Is that
30 now?
32 something.
32. How do I know? Help us get to 35 by the kickoff of the Michigan game. That's a reach goal at this point. But if everybody here does that, I'm looking now because I'm curious. I guess, yeah, we are at 32,000 and change. So get us to 35,000. That would be awesome.
If we get to 100,000, I think we get a plaque. So let's if we can do that by Ohio State Michigan kickoff.
How many plaques?
Well, one, and I get that, but I would let you guys see
we'll
it
take
background
turns.
behind
we each get it 2 days a week, and then we can have rotating custody.
Does that explain why Kevin Warren must have had 30 million YouTube followers with everything on the back of his wall?
He's actually Mr. Beast. Not many people know that, but he is. We did have someone on our board ask about their forecast for this game. This weekend calls for snow, increasing snow throughout the day, and then even more later into the evening. And, people were saying, boy, you guys are going to have to cut the post-game show short and, get out of there so you can get on the road. It's like, no. Look, if we are standing in the snow, we are going to look like Jack Nicholson at the end of The Shining by the end of that post-game. We are going to be out there in the snow. And then someone said, is Tony going to be doing snow angels? And I said, well, depends on how many super chats we get. So, Tony, you have to set a super chat goal for you to post-game show, win or lose, do a snow angel on the field at Michigan Stadium. You got to commit to a number, and then you got to do it, win or lose.
Do I have to tell people the number?
It's got to be more than I did pickles for, because I that was not nearly enough.
Well, we'll think about it. We will think about it. I don't. No, let me mull this over. I don't like the idea of doing this, so I'm gonna need to.
You can wear a shower curtain while you do it.
Hey, that's my bit. Please.
I do have an old poncho that I could also wear. Like people are talking about the snow. There probably won't even be enough snow on the ground during the game to do any kind of snow angel. An hour or 2 hours after, maybe perhaps, but the wind is going to be fine. The cold is going to be what it is. They could practice outside, get used to the cold. There will be hand warmers. Both quarterbacks have to deal with it. So I don't think it's going to be a major issue. And the 1 year it was an issue, Ohio State threw for like 400 yards. Mm-hmm. So I think, maybe that whole thing's overblown.
Well, I think number one, the wind is, as of right now, and it's only Tuesday, so the forecast will change 5 more times before the game actually gets here. But as of right now, wind doesn't look like an issue. Wind is where you get into you can't throw the football. That's, if it's gently snowing softly and it looks picturesque like a snow globe, but it's not windy, you can throw the football fine through that. If it's windy, I always go back to the 2022 Northwestern game where it was, I think the wind gusts were about 80 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. Like in pregame warmups, I'm watching people punt the ball and the ball goes backwards like that. That's when you can't throw the ball at all, either direction, because either you underthrow it or overthrow it by 30 yards. If it's a 30 mile an hour wind, 25 mile an hour wind on Saturday, yeah, absolutely. That'll impact the passing games. If it's snowing, but not, it's 5 to 10 mile an hour winds, that should be fine. And both of these quarterbacks have strong arms. Like we have seen sort of, weak arm, kind of pop gun arm quarterbacks on various teams over the years where any kind of wind and it's like, well, you can't throw an out. Anything outside the numbers is like, forget it. These quarterbacks both have strong arms. I don't think that's going to be a big issue for either of them, unless the wind really, really ends up worse than it is projected right now.
Michigan fans should be concerned that if there's too much snow, Ohio State in the white jerseys might be hard for their quarterback to see. And they might be able to snag a couple of interceptions because he's not seeing the field entirely.
Super chat from Mike Farino. Which college wins the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes? I saw, I think one of the big national people say, I just found out what Lane Kiffin's doing, and it is, you will be shocked. And it's like, well, I'll say the same thing. Wow, I know what Lane Kiffin's going to do, and you will be shocked. Whatever place he goes, you go, oh, wow, what? No.
Kevin, the only place that would shock me is Penn State.
Yeah, he's not going to Penn State.
That would be shocking.
Up until 2 weeks ago, I would have said he's going to stay at Ole Miss. I've completely backed off of that. I'm going to say LSU at this point. I don't think it's a good decision for him. I don't think it's a great decision for LSU either. So, there's a little hilarity there. You're Ole Miss. Why are you not committing the money? You're not going to get somebody better. You're gonna end up with Matt Luke again, and Matt Luke didn't work out so well as your head coach. So, that's foolish on their part. But it sounds like LSU is. First of all, the governor out there wants to be involved in this whole decision, since he was involved in everything else with the dumping of Brian Kelly or whatever. I just think that once the dust settles, that he ends up in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am as well. When the governor of Louisiana is complaining about all of this wasted money, and then apparently also signs off on like a $15 million a year for the head coach and $25 million guarantees in NIL, which can't really do. I think it's interesting, especially for a coach that has never won a conference and has been known for being the guy that can almost get you there, but can't actually get you over the top. And I think maybe LSU thinks that they would be the finishing touch to that. And, no lie, if you're able to win national championships for Les Miles and Ed Orgeron, then why shouldn't Lane Kiffin be able to win a national championship there? But, I think staying at Ole Miss would make everybody happier, but clearly, he's not as happy as he thinks he could be at LSU or Florida. Because at this point, if he was going to go stay, he would have already said it, unless this is some PR stunt.
Right. So your question is, might Lane Kiffin be doing something solely for attention? Is that your question?
Yes.
Because I want to make sure I'm understanding your question.
Right.
Yeah. going to, I can't get over the hump at my current place, but I think I can do it at LSU. That sounds like something that happened a few years ago with a guy from Notre Dame. How did that turn out? Like, maybe it's not a Notre Dame problem as it turns out. It's, you look at Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame, and then Notre Dame immediately, starts doing things that they couldn't do under Brian Kelly and getting further in the playoff than they could under Brian Kelly. It reminds me of when Anthony Precourt was the owner of the Columbus Crew. He's like, well, you can't win in Columbus. I'm going to go to Austin, Texas. And then he left for Austin, Texas. They ended up leaving the team behind, and he got an expansion team and has done absolutely crap all in Austin since then. And the Crew, I think, has won 2 MLS Cups since then. And it's like, might not have been a Columbus problem, as it turns out, and might not have been a Notre Dame problem, as it turns out. And I'm not sure it's an Ole Miss problem. But if you are Lane Kiffin, what they just fired Brian Kelly after 2.5 seasons. And they fired Ed Orgeron like a season and a half after he won a national championship. Are you sure you want to go there? You don't want to go to the place where you have the program at the highest point it's been in probably since integration in the 1970s. That feels like you can get a statue of yourself built there. And I don't know that the resources at LSU are going to be that much more than Ole Miss. I think the smartest move for him is just sign an enormous extension at Ole Miss and just keep doing what you're doing, because he's got him close. And I don't think the expectations at Ole Miss are national championship or bust immediately. The expectations at LSU is everyone except for Brian Kelly, who is coach there this century, has won a national championship. So the expectation is if you don't, you're a loser, Brian Kelly. So if you're at Ole Miss and you make the playoff this year, they're going to be thrilled. And if you get to the quarterfinals or the semifinals in a year or two, they're going to be thrilled. And that might get you fired at LSU.
I don't know that Lane, that's enough for Lane, though. He's not seeing him falling short as his fault. It's the fault of Tennessee. It's the fault of USC. It's right. It's USC's fault. It's Nick Saban's fault. It's, Ole Miss just not being, they're starting a Division II quarterback right now, all season long. Why? They lucked out majorly with that. And it's like, I think he thinks he wouldn't have that issue at LSU or even Florida. I've said before that I don't understand why Florida is like, why can only Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer win at Florida? And so I've had this belief, and then somebody on the Buckeye held a message board, said, well, look at the terrible coaches that they've hired. And it's like, well, that's a fair point. They have a terrible history of coaching hires, maybe the worst of any major program, although Alabama's up there as well. They've had their share of bad coaches between Stallings and
it's rolling.
Saban. Yeah, exactly. And that's not even counting the fact that Rich Rod took the job and then said, actually, no, I don't want it.
Can I give you a quick update on the basketball game that is holding up the college football playoff rankings reveal? Yes. It is currently 29.4 seconds left. They're in an official review, and the score is tied. Boys, we could be real close to some free basketball.
I'm out of here. I was going to say it was a matter of
excitement on your face.
USC couldn't inbound it. Seton Hall got the steal, kind of inside, outside, hits a three to tie it up at 78. So, these guys would F up a parade. It's not good. Mike Farino with the super chat. By all accounts, Ole Miss is offering the similar money as everyone else. Lane would be leaving for other reasons like recruiting. You want to sit there and have this $25 million slush fund pool for recruiting and stuff. The legality of all of that, remains to be seen, and how you're gonna handle some of those things. I don't think it's a matter of, whether or not he's getting paid $11 million or $11.2 million by the school or whatever the money is, that's the difference. But there are certain things, the money for the pool for your assistant coaches, things of that nature all come into the equation as well. But, I don't know.
Another one from
Tim wanted to know if we could see Chip Kelly going to Penn State. No. Short answer, no. Long answer, definitely no.
And Ryan Day did address. He was asked as soon as Chip, and then he just started smiling and shaking his head. He hasn't thought about that at all. I was on with the Juck on the Buckeye Huddle primetime last night, and he was asking me, do I think that there's a scenario where Chip Kelly shows back up in the building at some point? I wouldn't be shocked if he's there this winter to help with the bowl preparation and things of that nature, or to even just to audit Ohio State's offense, that sort of thing, where he's taking a look at what the Buckeyes are doing. Just depends on where he is and what he wants to do. And, does he miss beautiful Columbus in January compared to frigid Las Vegas?
I think he probably still has his place in Malibu as well, I'm going to guess. So, yeah, he's got Chip has options. I would be a little surprised if he wasn't at least having some conversations with Ryan, doing stuff informally at the very least, just to sort of, watch film. Just you don't have to be sitting there and grinding 60 hours of film a week if you don't want to. If he could, as you said, like come in and audit it. I remember before they hired Chip Kelly, they had brought Bill O'Brien in for a couple weeks, and then Bill O'Brien left to take the Boston College job. But Bill O'Brien had just done like a real deep dive, basically audit, like the word you used, of the Ohio State offense and given them a ton of information. You could absolutely see that with Chip Kelly. Here's what you're doing. Here's some thoughts on, what you might be able to do differently, or, hey, this concept might work well with that, something like that. You could absolutely see him doing that. He knows the personnel. He knows the system. The offense is the same one that he was running last year. It's, this is about as plug and play as you could get. So yeah, I would be a little surprised if he wasn't involved either directly or indirectly in some way. But, I want to be clear. Like, this is not like new Ohio State offensive coordinator Chip Kelly wearing the side headline. No, we're not. You're not going to see Chip Kelly calling plays or anything like that. But involved in some way, yeah, I could see that happening for sure.
Fresh eyes.
Yep. Super chat from Mike Farino. I said this on the board. Florida is a clear-cut better job than Ole Miss, but still not a top 5 job, borderline top 10. Yeah, I mean, that's probably right. I mean, do we want to sit here and list the top 5 jobs? I mean, ahead of Florida, you're certainly taking Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably taking Notre Dame, Texas, Bama, Georgia. I mean, that's probably your top 5, and USC ahead of Florida, maybe. I mean, you've got all sorts of complicated, the state of California is not producing football players at the rate that it did before because they have a lot fewer people playing football there than they did 20 years ago. But yeah, you probably take USC over them, over Florida.
Florida State and Miami.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Would you rank the Florida jobs? Florida State, Florida, Miami. I mean, that feels like I could talk myself into literally any combination of those jobs. Because is being in the SEC a good thing or a bad thing? Is being in the ACC a good thing or a bad thing? And will the ACC teams be in the ACC 10 years from now? And is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, if Miami had an on-campus or near-campus stadium, I think that job suddenly moves up higher. I mean, yeah, I do have some issues with the Miami program. I do call them the Oakland, Los Angeles, Oakland, Las Vegas Raiders of college fan bases, in terms of just a bunch of casuals who only come out when things are going well or whatever. But being down there in Miami-Dade, Broward counties, just the amount of talent that's down there, they should be a lot better than they are. But since they have to, travel all the way up to Miami Gardens to go play at the Dolphin Stadium, really takes the starch out of that one.
Well, to be fair, Miami fans can only come out at certain points because there's curfew, ankle monitoring, all of those sorts of things. So you can't really get after them on when they are allowed out and not. So, but an on-campus stadium would be good for them. Yeah, you can put it in any order, and really, it just depends on who the coach is at the time and whether and doing, because each of those schools has the potential to be the best. Urban Meyer made Florida the best job in the nation when he was there,
Mhm.
and they recruited like it, and
Mhm.
then it stopped being that.
Mm-hmm. Good news. We might have another video review in this basketball game. They've moved all of 10 seconds of game clock in the last about 5 minutes of real time. So that's pretty
And
good.
somebody in a chat thread that we have with some other reporters on the beat said during that whole video review they could have released the top 25, and that is true. And I'll leave it at that.
I'm just waiting for the glass to break, and by God, that's Tom Izzo. And then he runs out onto the field, onto the court, calling timeouts. Like some wrestlers will come down, with a steel chair or 2x4. He comes down with 6 timeouts to use.
Goodness. Okay.
Mike
So
Frito says
USC,
LSU
all USC has to do is hit a couple free throws, and we can get started on college football playoff time. Please.
Mike
Well,
Frito says that
they'll still drag this thing out because on the back end of this is the next game out in Hawaii. So, they'll probably be like, oh, we need to have an hour to not the 25, 27, 30 minutes or whatever. But it would be nice if they sat there and just expedited this and we got all the fluff out of there. And I mean, I'm not
they
counting on it.
threw the rankings down really quickly, all in a row at the start last week. So maybe they'll do the similar thing this week. Mike says LSU's greater than Florida, other than the leadership of the school right now. I think both
LSU
jobs are just
president.
What's that?
I said, didn't LSU just get a new university president?
And
yes,
AD,
LSU got a new president, and I think just fired Scott Woodward. I believe that actually did happen. It's not just rumored to happen. And Florida, of course, also doesn't have a university president right now because they were going to hire former Michigan president Santa Ono, and then he got nixed by the board. So, yeah, both schools don't have a university president, and LSU, I believe, also doesn't have an athletic director. So.
No, they have an interim who was a former player there, so they're going to be people who are going to push for him, but I don't think that he's going to end up getting the job.
Yeah.
Jason Warner says Florida isn't a top 10 job. OSU, Bama, Oregon, Michigan, LSU, USC, LSU, Georgia, Florida State, and Texas are all better. Maybe some more.
LSU is so good it's listed twice.
Well, that's how you know. I do think Alabama, that's Nick Saban's doing. And what they did it's been, what's his face at the start, Bear Bryant, and then it was Gene Stallings basically. And then there was nothing for 20 years, 18, 15 years until Nick Saban. And then Nick Saban took them to heights that they had been maybe with Bear Bryant, but that's so long ago that Bear Bryant's last year was like 80 something, early 80s. So that was 40 years ago. That was a long time ago. That's Woody Hayes essentially era as well, to give you the Ohio State fans an idea of how long ago that was. And so like when you say Alabama's top 10 job, I think maybe it is because they saw the potential and they saw that once Nick Saban took them places, they're like, oh, we like being here, so let's stay here. Let's try to stay here. And we'll see what Kalen DeBoer can do. I just wonder how long they will stay there and how long do they think they belong there and how quickly are they firing coaches, because this is not who we are. We've been much more than this forever. And it's like, no, you haven't. Look, just remember what you were before 2007 for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But is Oregon a top 10 job now?
Yeah. I mean, those are clearly to me not listed in order, but Oregon's probably a top 10 job as long as Phil Knight's alive. And then I don't know what the state of Phil Knight's estate is. And, Matthew Knight is his son, I think, who the basketball arena is named after. So maybe it just sort of everything just passes down and it's just a different person at that point writing those big checks. But Phil Knight is such a big part of that Oregon story that, there's at least a little bit of a question there in terms of how much that'll
2004.
carry over.
I was just looking up Matthew Knight. He passed in 2004 from a scuba accident.
Oh, okay.
So basically it's Michael Knight. And so he's going to have to come off the road from solving crimes with his talking car to take over the family business, which is an incredible reference from
we're
35
we're
years
working our
ago.
way back to Fast and Furious again. I mean, because it's about family and everything else. And
81-80, 1.8 seconds to go. Got some fouling going on.
Mhm.
The rankings reveal show will start at 7, just so you're aware.
Yeah.
what time was did the stupid basketball game start at? Because I know that the Ohio State basketball game's already in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, Ohio State playing Mount St. Mary's tonight, by the way, in case you were wondering where all the M's were crossed out on campus. That's why it's Mount St. Mary's week in Columbus.
Of all the weeks for Mount St. Mary's to show up this week, the disrespect.
It is a 3-point game with 1.8 seconds left. And boy, I'm sure I don't even need to tell you what I'm expecting to happen here.
GE 2013 says it actually 7 p.m. Central is when the rankings reveal show is supposed to start, and might be correct about that one.
And
no, don't spoil anything. I'm a few seconds behind.
I was going to say, yeah,
I'm not spoiling anything you care about. Don't worry.
I'll know what happens just based on your reaction.
I gotta say, USC and Seton Hall, the crowd shots. You don't need to check the color of the shirts. You can tell who is who. Seton Hall is northeastern New Jersey, and USC is you know where USC is. So yeah, it's
South Carolina.
Yeah, it is two distinct fan bases. We'll just leave it at that.
Wait, so all right, they fouled them before the inbound or whatever to put them on the line so we can be assured to have more free throws. I hate both of these teams.
And he missed.
Anyway, boy, so 4.4 points per game from that starting defense for the Ohio State Buckeyes this year. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. You better make this one, son.
And
Exciting.
USC has done it. They have ended the game. Who is the winner? Is it USC? No, friends, it is America.
It's us.
Let's get rid of the college basketball. It is college football season. Thank
USC gets to hang out in Hawaii a little bit longer, and I don't know. Is Maui is the one where they do like the 7th place winner? Are you assured of playing X amount of games? Yeah. So all right. So everybody's a winner.
Question here from Dallas Eldridge: will Ryan Day try something on special teams? Will it backfire or will it succeed? I don't think Ohio State's in a position where they need to try anything crazy in this game, especially not on special teams where as long as you break even, I think you're okay there. You just don't want to give us something up. And so trying something, I don't think anybody would necessarily be expecting it, but also you only do it if you need to. And I don't think they need to, but I would be interested to know, are they at least practicing something this week, like a fake punt, or if we see this, certainly they're looking for weaknesses in the special teams, and if they notice that there's turning and running, or on kickoffs or punts, there's going to be something to take advantage of there. But I would think they would just prefer to kick and play defense.
Here's what they're doing. They have a plan for everything. They have a fake punt ready to go. They have a fake field goal ready to go. They have 2 onside kicks ready to go. They have 4 2-point plays ready to go. They have everything ready to go for this game. Will they need it? I don't know. One thing that I think is a factor, we've talked about the weather before, and they're finally, good Lord, finally starting this show so we can do our college football playoff rankings piece of this in a minute. But one thing that I think is a little bit of a factor is if the weather forecast changes right now, and right now it's a matter of the snow is supposed to start more a couple hours after the game. If that moves up a little bit, and then it's going to snow more after halftime, it becomes real important to get off to a good start and to get a lead. You want to be the one who's up 10 points when it starts snowing real hard. You don't want to be chasing at that point. So, how does that impact? Are you trying to steal a possession in the first half to get a little more of a cushion before the snow comes? Does that change your, kick or receive strategy in the first half? Maybe that, because Ryan Day always wants to defer because he's so big on the middle eight, which is the correct way to handle that. But you wonder if, right now this is not the forecast. If the forecast changes and it starts snowing earlier or it gets windy earlier or whatever it is, getting that fast start might be really, really, really important. And that might change some of the dynamics around surprise onside kick, fake punt, whatever it is.
I just think if you win the toss, you defer because that first drive is very difficult to handle the emotions against a ramped up defense. And a lot of times it feels like there's just going to be some feeling out. So get the feeling out done without losing a possession to get it done. And then you get the ball to start the third quarter.
Mike Farino says, part of me wants to see an all-out blitz, play one versus Michigan to make Underwood question what he sees every snap after. I mean, you're going to see a lot of pressures and sim pressures and creepers and, 6 guys, 7 guys near the line of scrimmage. And then 4 of them will rush and 2 or 3 of them will drop out. Which will it be? I don't know. You saw that last week. They ran one against Rutgers where Caleb Downs is covering the slot guy. Caden Curry's lined up, ready to pass rush. The ball snapped, and immediately Caden Curry's covering the slot guy, and Caleb Downs is blitzing. It was a AAA gap blitz, and Caleb Downs got home because the first 2 blitzers occupied the blockers, and he just came clean right up the A gap for a sack. That's going to be very, very hard for a freshman to process because there's going to be a lot of stuff happening, and what you see is not necessarily what you get.
And it's not just the freshman that has to do it. It's the entire offensive line. It's the tight ends that are blocking as well. Everybody has to be on the same page, and you're asking a lot of a bunch of people against a defense that they haven't seen before and will have something new for them. So I think I said it earlier today. We probably haven't been talking enough about the advantage that Ohio State should have defensively. I don't want to say decided schematic advantage, but an advantage.
Another guy with a long history with the Patriots.
That's why I'm trying to avoid it, even though no, I'm not going to say it.
Good news. After making us wait for 45 minutes for a stupid basketball game, now we're getting the same exact graphic of explaining here's how the 12-team college football playoff works. All right, here we go.
The next game's at 8:22, so they're doing this in 30, it looks like.
Yeah, so here we go. Number 25, Arizona. Number 24, Tulane. Number 23, Georgia Tech, down 7 spots. Number 22, Pitt. Number 21, SMU. Lots of ACC at the bottom of the rankings here. That tells me, boy, they really, really do not want to have to put a group of 5 team in there as the highest, the 4th highest ranked or the 5th highest ranked conference champion. They don't want 2 of them in there, and they are going to ensure that is not the case unless Duke somehow wins it. Now, we went through that scenario earlier.
It's impossible. It's not going to happen. Don't even worry about it.
The world is not a beautiful enough place. Think about how funny it would be if the ACC missed the playoff entirely. That would be incredible.
Next page is out. I'm typing them quickly into a roll.
It's interesting that they dropped Georgia Tech that low.
Mm-hmm. Well, Georgia Tech has not looked very good for quite a while. They've really been pretty bad for a while. They barely beat a 1-10 Boston College team a week ago. That's there has been red flags with that team for quite a while.
Get to Texas at 16. That's a good win for Ohio State. Is it enough to keep them number 1 overall? Probably.
Michigan up 3 to 15.
And if you're wondering what we're doing, Kevin and I are both furiously typing to get graphics together, so you can put all of this, see all of this on the screen. Now I have to remember how to spell Tennessee. That doesn't look right.
DERP.
Michigan with a win over Ohio State, would that jump them from 15 to say 10 where they would need to be?
Yeah, and Michigan moving up to 15 that tells me they are if Michigan moved up from 18 to 15, that is officially win and you're in. I think if you're Michigan, that is enough of a move up that we'll see where.
Because you can justify a 5-spot move for beating the number 1 team in the nation.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. 15
Vandy at
Michigan, 14 Vanderbilt, 13 Utah. I don't want to spoil the surprise, but Kyle Whittingham almost certainly retiring after this season. So we'll see. We'll see if they get in. Miami jumps Utah this week.
Uh-oh. Getting closer and closer to Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be opposite pods. So they're still not touching. The pods are touching, but they're not touching yet.
So right now, just to read from the bottom of the list, if you're not sitting in front of a TV, number 25 Arizona, number 24 Tulane, number 23 Georgia Tech, number 22 Pitt, number 21 SMU, number 20 Arizona State, number 19 Tennessee, number 18 Virginia, number 17 USC, number 16 Texas, number 15 Michigan, number 14 Vanderbilt, number 13 Utah, number 12 Miami. That's as far as we have gotten right now. They're about to put number 11 on the screen. I'm guessing it's BYU. It is BYU.
I don't think Vandy has a shot. Vandy's out. I don't think a win over Tennessee doesn't do much for them.
Well,
doesn't do enough for them.
Tennessee's 19th. Vandy, you got to remember BYU is probably losing to Texas Tech in the conference championship game. Who does BYU have this week?
Vandy needs help.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure, Vandy needs help. But I think that Vandy needs Michigan to lose to Ohio State. Miami losing to Pitt would certainly help them. And then the Big 12 is just a mess right now. Those 3 teams sort of at the top of the league. Number 10, Alabama.
BYU has UCF.
Vandy needs help with how many SEC teams are you taking at some point. I mean, they need some upsets to happen to be able to claim their spot. Notre Dame 9. We do have a super chat as well that when we get to another pause, we'll get to that.
Tony, go ahead and take the super chat right now while they're putting up a Notre Dame video.
Michigan probably needs Alabama or Oklahoma to lose. Bama first team out, and you really justify Michigan over Alabama, maybe.
Well, Michigan's going to have the best win nationally at this point with the win at home over Ohio State. Alabama has their 2 losses, and really, I've seen people say that Alabama should still get in with a loss in the SEC championship game, giving them 3 losses for the season. That's going to be an interesting thing to watch. I think they put Michigan there in case they beat Ohio State so that they can bump them up. Now, Ohio State's not falling out, so somebody's got to drop out of that top 10, and that's where the issue is. Notre Dame, I'm still not they had 2 close losses. Their schedule has been weak from then on. They're kind of just coasting, and they beat the hell out of Pitt, but Pat Narduzzi said, please beat the hell out of us, and they complied. But yeah, it would upset a lot of people in this chat if Michigan got left out of the playoffs after beating Ohio State. I know that.
I think that would be very hard for them to do. It feels like we're going to see a lot of the same teams that we saw last week, because the last few, number 11 BYU, number 10 Alabama, number 9 Notre Dame, number 8 Oklahoma, number 7 Ole Miss, they dropped behind Oregon. Didn't they just flip-flop last week, or was that a week ago? Was that Ole Miss dropping below Texas Tech? Was Ole Miss number 5 a couple weeks ago? I think they might have been. I think Ole Miss has been slowly sliding down the rankings. I wonder, Ole Miss falling to 7. I wonder if Ole Miss loses the Egg Bowl, and what are the odds that something stupid happens in the Egg Bowl? He asked.
Never.
Yeah, never. No. I wonder if they lose in the Egg Bowl, if they're just out. That very well may just put them out if they lose to Mississippi State. And I don't expect them to, but the game's in Starkville, and stupid things happen in the Egg Bowl virtually every year.
Yes.
Number
Let's
6, Oregon.
go
Number
back to
5,
to Mike's
Texas,
question.
Number 4, Georgia. All sort of status quo from last week.
Right. And we know it'll be Texas A&M,
Number 3,
Indiana,
Texas
Ohio
A&M.
State.
Yep. Number 2, Indiana.
So-
Number 1, Ohio State. So
In that top 10, who is dropping out if Michigan beats Ohio State? Like, who are they jumping? Bama at that point? Because you're gonna have to jump somebody in that top 10 to get into the playoffs because of the ACC not being in there and the group of 5 not being in there. And so it is an interesting question. And Oklahoma has beaten Michigan, so the floor has been set for Michigan. Oklahoma's at 8, so they're not moving. So it's, can they jump Notre Dame or Bama? And the committee seems to be okay with Notre Dame where they are. They don't want to get them near Miami, and it'd be hard pressed. I'm hard pressed to think that they would want to boot Alabama out for Michigan, because even if Michigan beats Ohio State, I don't know that many people are going to say, well, Michigan is clearly better than Alabama based on what we've seen over the course of the season.
Well, I think you're going to have the whole drumbeat of that whole conversation is going to be Michigan was non-competitive with Oklahoma. That tells you everything you need to know about the SEC and the Big Ten, and Alabama over Florida State. You can't. That was week 1. That doesn't count. No, everyone knows if they played again, what would happen there. That's going to be the whole conversation there. Yeah, highest ranked 9-2 teams. Number 8, Oklahoma. Number 9, Notre Dame. Number 10, Alabama. Number 12, Miami. Number 13, Utah. Number 14, Vanderbilt. Number 15, Michigan. So, but if you look at the bracket, it's virtually unchanged from last week, other than Ole Miss and Oregon flipping spots. That's the only change on the bracket from last week. And Michigan is now one of the first 4 out.
So I know people don't want to talk about this, but say Ohio State does lose. Do they drop to
I don't want to talk
7?
about
Do they drop?
Ohio State? No, Ohio State's not dropping that far. Ohio State has all the metrics the committee uses, strength of record and game control and all that kind of stuff. Ohio State is like very clearly number 1 right now. If they lose a close game against number 15, they may still be in the top 4. I mean, and if not, they're going to 5 or something like that. I don't think Ohio State's dropping down like below Ole Miss or anything like that. And Oregon, like what's Oregon's great tentpole win that is holding them up over Ohio State? If they lose by 20, sure. If they lose by a field goal, I don't see Ohio State plummeting. Do you? What's the case for them to plummet down the rankings?
Well, just usually because there's SEC teams with 1 loss, you would assume the Big Ten team would have to go below that. But you do see a Big Ten team above an Oregon, above Ole Miss. I don't think they would go to 7. I'm just wondering how far would they still get their bye, because again, I'm not sure that they've already winterized the shoe, so they can't possibly go back there. That's not true, but I'm just wondering how far they fall, and could the coveted number 5 spot be open for them, perhaps?
Yeah, 5 I think is absolutely reasonable. If they win against Michigan, I think you've pretty much locked up a first round bye at that point. If they lose to Michigan, I think you're in line to probably play that first weekend. And, a lot can change. And there are a couple of teams that are going to lose. We'll see who else loses this week. We'll see who loses in the conference championship week. But I think the only way Ohio State's playing that first weekend in December, 19th and 20th or 20th and 21st, whatever it is this year, is if they lose to Michigan. And then you're looking at the 5 seed, like 6 seed seems like the worst possible. That seems like the lowest they could possibly finish. And man, I got to tell you, the idea of Miami coming up to Ohio Stadium on December 20th when the temperatures, what was it last year, 21 degrees or something like that? Like, man, you want the funniest possible playoff game. That's it right there.
Kevin, the Hurricanes going to come out there without their shirts on?
Oh yeah. That worked very well for Tennessee, who immediately turned around and ran back in and said, "Yeah, we're not doing that." Problem is, they didn't really come back out again. So there you go. Before we get to the couple of super chats we've got queued up, somebody was saying anyone against reseeding. I think reseeding is necessary, but it is what it is because everybody wants to look at I'm going to take the super chat off for a second. Wants to look at the lineup and it's like, who's got the best path? I don't know. I would kind of like to be the 1 seed. I mean, call me old fashioned. I would like to be the 1 seed just numerically with how things work out and everything else. I mean, we do know that the 5 has some benefit. You get the 12, which should be a walkover. You get the 4, which should be, even money, more or less. So that could, put you into the semifinals. But if you're the 1, you get the bye. We saw that the bye weeks didn't necessarily help teams last year, but then you get 8 or 9. I absolutely love Ohio State against Notre Dame or Ohio State against Oklahoma, if that's the way that the seeds hold.
You're saying 4 and 5 should be, a very close game. I'm going to pull up SP Plus to see what the line would be on a Georgia Texas Tech game, but in my head, that's Georgia minus about 5.5. We'll see. They've got, let's see, and now SP Plus has Texas Tech by about 4. I think that.
Wow.
You know what? Give me if that's that. You tell me how much I can put on the Georgia money line on that one, and that I'm happy to have that conversation.
All of it. You can put all of it if you'd like. I'm sure there's a book out there that would take that action.
Yeah, that just of course, Texas Tech to me feels like the great unproven team. Which, maybe they might be great. They've got a lot more talent than they have in the past, but you look at their schedule, and it's like. Best win is just the land of wind and ghosts. Like there's not much there on that resume.
And of course, if Ohio State and Georgia in this scenario were to win and make it to the semifinals, they would get to play at the neutral site of Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, which is, the site of one of the great games we've ever seen, certainly in person. And that was awesome. And, again, not the best of luck for Ohio State against the Bulldogs in that one. But, yes, Georgia getting their Georgia free handouts basically throughout the postseason, as SEC teams are wont to do. This is why the Browns need a domed stadium. I've been saying it forever.
Super Chat Chronicles. The 4 seed looks so good. It's wild how it's seeded for second round. They almost need to reseed after the first round or make second round on campus. I know everybody is in love with the idea of the on-campus games. It was a lot of fun. Let me take this down because I feel like I'm having to reach over the Super Chat. I'm still a bowl apologist. I think that the bowl system is important. I like having those types of venues, but give me reseeding. I think reseeding is necessary.
What's the argument against it?
Probably logistics and travel, notice. I guess, that they want you to know, for fans who are planning to travel, that you're going to do this, and then you're going to go to this place next. If you win your first game, that in this case, Notre Dame and Oklahoma fans know that if they win their first game, that they are going to the Rose Bowl for the second game, so they can book their flights and whatever. I guess that's the argument, but. Very clearly the top seeds did not benefit from being top seeds last year. If you have another year like that, I think you might see reseeding enter the chat sooner rather than later. They still have not decided what the format of the playoff is for next year. They just bumped the deadline for that back from early December to something like January 21st of 2026 for them to decide how many teams are in. How are they going to put those teams in? All that kind of fun stuff. I think the fact that now that's after that deadline has been pushed back to after this year's playoff means that if you have another year where you get a bunch of those top 4 seeds getting upset in the quarterfinals, that you may get it reseeded to sort of benefit that top seed. Because, man, number 1 Oregon did not get an easy path to the through the college football playoff last year as the benefit of being the number 1 team in the nation.
I would also say if they're so concerned. If they're so concerned about the fans, they wouldn't have a 12-team playoff where you have to go to a different city across the nation, 4 times over the course of a month or whatever. So this is about TV and some fans, and the fans that can afford this can also afford to go on shorter notice for the most part. That's, they could justify it however they want to do it because they justify however they want, whenever they want. Super chat from Mike Farino. Bama would be in the SEC championship game too, and I bet they win it, locking in a spot. So they would have to jump all the way above Notre Dame. Michigan still needs help to get in. I am interested to see what happens if, we know that when you lose the big time conference championship games, you're okay. But what happens when it's a third loss? Does this become something that they then have to consider? Because going into championship weekend, Tom, if I recall, they said nothing's going to change in terms of you're not going to be penalized for playing in the conference championship game, and nobody was. And there was a Big 12 championship game loser wasn't. They needed to win in order to get in anyway, right? There was only one Big 12 championship team.
Yes.
Big 12 teams, Arizona State.
Right. Arizona State got in there. The ACC, SMU beat Clemson on a last-second field goal, right? And then they both got in, or did Clemson beat SMU? Clemson beat SMU, yeah. Mm-hmm. You can see teams sneak in and sort of be bid stealers that way. This one from Quanticles: if you are top 4, you get a bye, but you are likely playing in a conference championship and are playing an extra game anyways. Time to remove the championship game. The championship game does feel like it may be on a little bit of borrowed time. I mean, the TV networks love it. The conferences love it because you're selling a lot of TV inventory. I think the most compelling part of the Big Ten's proposal, where they were going to guarantee the Big Ten 4 spots and the SEC 4 spots and the Big 12 2 and the ACC 2, was the idea that if the Big Ten is guaranteed 4 spots, maybe the top 2 teams from the Big Ten don't have to play on conference championship weekend, and it's 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5, and those are functionally play-in games. That makes that really interesting. That turns that weekend into you get rewarded by not having to play in that conference championship game weekend and getting that weekend off. And then those games are incredibly high stakes because Indiana and Ohio State, if that's the Big Ten championship game, I'm super excited to watch that game. I think that's going to be a phenomenal football game. I think we're going to learn a lot about both of those teams. But ultimately, it's really just about who gets the trophy and who goes to the Rose Bowl. That's it. That's what's on the line. And then the team that loses, they're going to go to the Fiesta Bowl or the Cotton Bowl or the Orange Bowl or something like that instead. It's not a season killer. It doesn't even force you to play that first weekend, probably, with the way those teams are seeded. So I ultimately, that's probably would make that the most compelling TV product over championship weekend. But you need to get the other conferences in line with that proposal. And, it's not like that's a perfect proposal either, but that in terms of conference championship weekend is probably the best way to make that still a compelling product.
Yeah. And coaches at this point, like Ohio State and Indiana, in their situations, would rather lose the game than win the game and have a significant injury, right? Because the injury is the more devastating thing than the loss, depending on who it was. So you'd rather lose the game and be clean and be healthy than win a conference championship game and then have a significant loss and then have to try to go on without that person.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Farino, super chat: if last year's playoffs reseeded, nothing would have changed at all. The highest remaining seed faced the lowest remaining seed every game. But then again, you also had the top 4 seeds all lose. So, I mean, and we're dealing with a sample size of just, of 1 year of running it under the current iteration of things. But you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But I'm not going to say that we're going to see a carbon copy this year of 1, 2, 3, and 4 losing. I mean, and it's certainly from Ohio State's standpoint, where you're assuming Ohio State's going to be in that top 4, we don't want to see that either.
I don't think you're going to see. Were each of those teams that had the bye, were they all underdogs for their first game?
I think they might have been, because Oregon was against Ohio State, right?
Mm-hmm.
By a couple. Was Georgia an underdog to Notre Dame? Might have been because of the injury to Carson Beck. That's the one that I don't remember. But Penn State was a favorite over Boise State, and then Arizona State and Texas. Texas, I think, was a favorite over Arizona State. So yeah, I think it might have been. And I think that was more reflective. They have fixed that error from last year. This is kind of what they did during the BCS era, where you'd get these weird results and they'd go, well, we can't do that again. And they tweak the formula to fix the backwards facing problem. And then they'd end up creating some new forward facing problem and not anticipate it. And then the next year they'd fix whatever that problem was. But this year, I think you have fixed that problem from last year. We'll see how this year goes. And then, as I said, they're now not making this decision until after the playoffs over. So if there is some crazy problem, or if you do see, the number 1 seed really got hosed here, then maybe they do fix it for next year.
All right. So is that there's last super chat from Mike Farino. Mm-hmm. Georgia opened as an underdog, but flipped to favored by 1 at kickoff. Okay. So there you go. And that was a weird situation entirely before that game, as they had the terrorist attack there going on. So I think we have handled all of these super chats. Tom, do you have anything else that you wanted to yell about or complain about, or?
No, just reminding everyone, take a second, hit the thumbs up. We appreciate that. Take a second also to make sure you're subscribed to the Buckeye Weekly podcast, the Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning podcast, the Big Me Kickoff podcast, the Skull Session Recruiting podcast. Just search Buckeye Huddle on whatever podcast platform you like, and subscribe, because we're going to be dumping a ton of content in all of those feeds this week. And especially if you are driving somewhere this week, that is a great way to make sure you are have plenty of stuff to listen to, no matter how long a drive or flight or Thanksgiving political conversation you have this week.
So
always
thank you. Always. I mean, what else is there to talk about amongst family? Frankly, nothing. That's it. How you guys been? Hold on. Have you seen what's on MSNBC? That's how it is in every household. That's what we know. So that will do it. I want to thank you all for tuning in on this Tuesday. And again, we got a bunch more coming for you. And hopefully you take it in, you enjoy it, you appreciate it, and you thank us for that. Most especially this Thanksgiving, be thankful for us. No. We're thankful for you. That will do it from here. We'll talk to you tomorrow.